Link, the main protagonist of the Legend of Zelda series. For over 35 years, we have known the hero of green, or I guess in blue too, as this silent but lovable boy with a heart of gold. Being a series that is used to changes and experiments, a lot of the different Links have a different backstory. Some having complex backstories, and some that don't really have backstory at all. One of these examples being Breath of the Wild's Link. Now, I'm not trying to imply that this Link doesn't have any backstory. He does. He's the son of a Hylian knight. Mipha loves him. Daruk considers him his brother. Rosa teaches him how to cross-dress. Zelda loves him. And he may or may not like Zelda. Now, that's pretty much all we know about Breath of the Wild's Link's backstory. And while on the list it sounds like a lot of those bullets I just listened are about other people. Now, I understand Link's supposed to be you. He's supposed to be a blank slate for us as the players to project ourselves onto him. But I don't think telling us that Link had a family or where he lived would ruin that for us. If anything, it would add to our relation to Link. We can't necessarily say what Link was like growing up, but I think maybe we can at least pinpoint where he lived. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. The main reason I'm making this video is because I got really busy and I didn't have time to finish the other video I was working on. But regardless, I did actually put some thought into my answer. This is a current map of Hyrule. Now, I understand that back in the day, there were a lot more towns and settlements, but there isn't really enough evidence in these ruins to prove that Link did or didn't live there, so the only ruin I'm going to keep on the table is Hyrule Castle Town. Now, immediately, we can rule off Gerudo Town. This is self-explanatory. Only females or Vi are allowed in Gerudo Town. The only way Link can access it is if he pretends to be a girl, and Link didn't know how to cross-dress until Urbosa gave him the Gerudo outfit. The next place we can cross off is Rito Village. Evidence for this comes from Revali's diary notes, as he knows of Link's reputation, but he's never actually met Link. Plus, in Age of Calamity, he clearly has no idea who Link is when he's attacking him. We can also rule out Goron City. This is because Goron City is a highly volcanic area, and even being in the city for too long will, kill you. Plus, according to Daruk's journal, he hadn't met Link until after Link acquired the Master Sword. The next place we can rule off is Korok Forest. And this is because in Age of Calamity, when they're going through the forest, Link clearly doesn't know where he's going. And they require the help from Hestu, a forest dweller, to actually make it to the Great Deku Tree. The next place we can mark off is Tarrytown for obvious reasons, as the town hasn't been constructed yet. Now, the next place I am going to rule off is Lurelin Village. Now, I don't really have a lot of reason to rule off Lurelin Village, other than the residents of Lurelin seem to have a darker skin color than Link does, which makes sense, because Lurelin lives in a tropical climate on a beach. Naturally, they would have darker skin tones. Now, the next place I'm going to rule off is Kakariko Village. This is because Impa clearly doesn't know who Link is in Age of Calamity.
Help!
The next place I'm going to rule off is Zora's Domain. And while I do believe Link spent a lot of his childhood in Zora's Domain, Mipha's diary clearly states that he only visited Zora's Domain. And now he could have lived on this, had a house on the slopes leading to Zora's Domain. We don't really see any ruins that would suggest that. This leaves Hateno Village and Hyrule Castle Town. I believe that Link was born and raised in Hateno Village, and once he was promoted to a castle guard, he moved to Hyrule Castle Town. Now, am I trying to imply that the house Link buys is his house from 100 years ago? Absolutely not. Because if they were keeping the house preserved for Link if he were to ever return, they wouldn't have let it fallen into the state that it is. So, what exactly happened to Link's home? Well, have you guys ever considered the possibility that it wasn't abandoned in the first place? Link died while protecting the princess during the Calamity's attack, and his father likely died at the Akala Citadel. But what if Link had more family than just his dad? In Masterworks, we find a picture of Link, an older man, and a little girl. There is also another picture of the same little girl who is being defended by Link, who's holding what looks like a traveler's spear. Now, I want to focus on the little girl in this picture. Now, a lot of people believe this little girl to be Link's little sister. Now, Link's a knight, his dad's a knight, but what about his sister? She certainly doesn't look like she's a knight. In fact, she looks more like a branch hand than a knight. But if his little sister was in Hateno Village during the attack, then that means she probably survived and just lived in her house for the rest of her life. But we need evidence, something to imply that Link's sister stayed in Hateno after the attack. In Hateno Village, you can find a kid reading a book. I lost the exact translations to this book, but from what I remember, it's a prince was going to the castle, and one day while he was going there, something strange happened. If you guys have the actual translations, please put it in the comments. But what I want to point out is how the main character, the quote-unquote prince, is wearing blue. It's not uncommon for authors to base their characters off of people they already know. So what if the little girl survived and became a storyteller, and she wrote a story and based one of her characters off of her older brother? Because if anyone should know what Link is like as a person, it should be his family. And she was a girl who missed her big brother. What if we actually get to see Link's family in Breath of the Wild? It's just a few generations later. It's just a theory, but it definitely makes the side quest to the weapon consumer a lot more personal. And that's my theory for where Link lived before the Calamity. Now, I'm sorry if this theory was a little bland. I promise there'll be a more interesting one coming out next week. Also, I started a Discord server, so if you guys want to reach out to me, talk to me about a theory, or just say hi, you're more than welcome to. I'm Masterman, and I'll see you later.